Pardon the interruption, but I'm Mike Wilbon. It's National First Love Day, Tony. What was your first love?
Tony Kornheiser, I think it's obvious. Bodybuilding. Come on. I still do it. I still I'm working out with as many as 15-pound weights. As many as that. How about you, big boy?
What do you do? That Columbia weight room, aren't you?
I'm trying. I get in there like on Old Age Monday, and I go right for the 15-pounders, and I curl them like crazy, like 6-7 times.
Man, I want to come see that.
Welcome to PTI, boys and girls. In today's episode, Travis Hunter's Heisman chances, golfers beef over money, and Jose Altuve gets tossed for bearing his left foot. But we begin today with a surprising statistic that none of the heralded starting rookie quarterbacks in the NFL, Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, and Bo Nix, has thrown a touchdown pass so far. Williams went number 1 to the Bears. Daniels went number 2 to Washington. Nix went number 12 to Denver. Combined, they have thrown 196 passes, not one for a touchdown. Wilbon, what do you make of this?
Make the same thing I made of it before week 1 when they were drafted, and the same thing I'll make of it in 3 weeks. They shouldn't even be playing. They shouldn't even be out there. They should be sitting and watching like quarterbacks did when chosen in those positions for 100 years with, yes, there are exceptions. Ben Roethlisberger and Troy Aikman and Peyton Manning. Oh, wait, all those guys are in the Hall of Fame.
Well, not yet.
Not yet. But you know what?
I know you're advocating.
Roethlisberger had better be in the damn Hall of Fame. 2 Super Bowls and trips to 3.
Yeah.
Now, which is a couple more than your boy Aaron Rodgers. So.
Who's not in the Hall of Fame.
I know, but he will be. They shouldn't be out there, Tone.
Yeah.
They should be doing what Aaron Rodgers. That's the path. So some time watching the game and learning the game and then playing. But no one does that now, mostly for financial reasons. Well, I get it, but that doesn't mean they're ready to be great.
So you look at this and you think, not one touchdown pass. That is a remarkable statistic. Not one touchdown pass with 196 passes. You are right. People are being rushed into playing. Bryce Young rushed into playing, and you see what happens. In a bad circumstance. See what happens to him.
Yeah.
But then there's C.J. Stroud, who is rushed into playing, and he is terrific at this point. All 3 of these people went to teams that finished under 500 last year. Their combined record of 19-32. They need quarterbacks, and that's why these guys are playing, right? I mean, we understand that. I think, and I know that you agree with this, you have to sit these guys down a little bit because the biggest change from college to pro is the speed of defense.
Yep.
Defensive players are bigger and faster than anything these guys are used to. Caleb Williams already sacked 9 times. Bo Nix has already thrown 4 interceptions. Now, Jaden Daniels is the one that surprises me because he's completing 75.5% of his passes and no picks. So I thought he'd get one of these. But, yeah, they have to sit, and they have to sit in the way that you mentioned. But there's a quantitative and qualitative difference here because we're going to essentially talk about Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers and Patrick Mahomes. They all sat. But they got drafted by better teams with established quarterbacks.
Yes.
These kids come in, there's no established quarterback.
No, and their teams are being remade necessarily so.
Yes.
Okay? And
For them.
And it's okay. You got to get them not killed because when your offensive line is part of that weakness, which is the case with the Bears, maybe the Bears' only weakness right now on paper, that's still a problem, a big problem.
Yeah.
So, Tony, I didn't expect any of these kids to light it up. Again, we've seen it, though. C.J. Stroud and Ben Roethlisberger come to mind.
Again, Ben Roethlisberger on a far better team.
On a team that had everything else.
Far better team.
Yeah. So, I
mean,
I don't even
who
find
gets the high draft picks? Bad teams.
Bad teams.
Right.
When you choose number 1, even if it was with the help of a trade.
Still a bad team.
You know.
It's a non-playoff team.
Yeah, let's move to college football, please. And Travis Hunter's Heisman case. Colorado's two-way phenom is second in the nation in receptions with 30, receiving touchdowns with 5, and 7th in receiving yards, 342, all while being one of the best defensive players in the country. He's averaging, listen to this stat, Tom, 126 snaps per game. So, does all that lead you to expect Travis Hunter to win the Heisman?
I can't say I expect him to win the Heisman. I can't expect anyone to win the Heisman after 3 games.
Right.
I think when we talk about this in September, it is a little early. I understand the allure of this fella. I understand this. being a two-way player, taking the amount of snaps that nobody has taken in 60 years, since like Paul Hornung and Chuck Bednarik. And there's a glamour to the positions he plays now. Wide receiver is a glamorous position. DB can be a glamorous position. I remember a few years back, there was a player named Gordy Lockbaum who got a lot of votes for the Heisman a couple of years in a row, but he played at Holy Cross. This guy's playing in a Power 5 program at Colorado, but no, you talk for a while, I'll come back.
No. Listen, I'm going to mention a couple of people who played two ways, and one won the Heisman, one didn't. One of them would be his coach, Deion Sanders.
Right.
Deion, it stunned me to find out when I look back, finished 8th in the Heisman voting, but a guy named Barry Sanders who rushed for like 2,600 yards.
And a million touchdowns.
Yeah, like 37 rushing touchdowns.
Yeah.
Okay, so Barry Sanders won the Heisman that year. Charles Woodson.
Yeah, he won it.
Beat out Peyton Manning for the Heisman.
Both great.
And Charles Woodson, as we see, justified it wasn't hype. He justified the standing,
of course,
by getting to the Hall of Fame.
Wasn't the overall number one because you take a quarterback.
You
take quarterback.
Well, Tony, I think Travis Hunter is the best player in college football.
Okay,
so from what I've seen so far, I know it's only 3 weeks, and I agree with you, it's a little early. And by the way, Tone, somebody else has to emerge because right now there's nobody out there I'm looking at going, oh, that kid's the front runner.
I'm going to give you a couple of reasons why he won't win it.
Okay.
The first reason is the quarterback on his own team.
Okay.
Shedeur Sanders. So if you have two guys on one team, one guy is actually not going to win the Heisman. And quarterbacks get it a lot. So you have Quinn Ewers out there, and you got Jalen Milroe out there, and you got the kid from Miami out there, Cam Ward. Right? I'll give you another reason why he might not win it. Deion fatigue. Deion is everywhere. I saw Deion last night attacking the media at a press conference. The media votes for this. You're not helping your kid in that. And I'll give you one other reason. If they fall to a 4-8 or a 5-7.
There's no chance.
There's no chance.
I mean, did John Elway finish something like 6-6? He had no chance. John Elway, as great as he was, they didn't have a season that year. So yes, Deion is everywhere.
But this kid's great.
Surpassed only by the other Kelsey.
That's right.
In terms of
both Kelseys are everywhere.
But the retired Kelsey.
Oh yeah, he's in every commercial known to mankind.
Every commercial there is.
And eating soup, right? Aren't they? Don't they do soup?
I thought it was ice cream.
Okay. Let's move to golf and the continuing talks to reunite the PGA Tour players with those who bolted for the Saudi Tour. An article in Bloomberg says some PGA players want any returning LIV players to hand back money they've made from LIV, or give money to charity, or pay a fine, or give back prize money they might win from future tour events. Woman, is this a reasonable request?
I can't use the words that I would use to the face of any one of those colleagues if they suggested that. I guess if I wore a black tank top and I could get away with those words on this show, I would use them. I would use them to their faces, okay? So we can't even get there.
But you can write them down and we can hold them up.
Yeah, we can. Yeah, I don't even think I can write them down to hold them up. There would be a suspension coming, and I'm not ready for that. So not only would I not consider it, I would say, get off my lawn, get away from my house, get out of this meeting. I'm not giving you blank, blank, blank with apostrophe S.
Yeah.
A dime back, not a dime, go straight to hell.
Yeah, so I think it's a tough sell. But let me get to this. I understand why the PGA players would feel this way. They would look at the money given to Koepka and DJ and Rahm, the tens of millions to maybe hundreds of millions.
Yeah.
And they would say, no. You can't come back here for nothing. You cannot have your cake and eat it too.
So what are we, a socialist society now?
No, that would be their position. My position would be that these are business decisions.
Yes.
And that it is a business decision equally by the PGA Tour players who chose to stay than the PGA Tour players who chose to leave. And I would also say this, and I don't think I would have taken the money, and I'm angry at this whole thing, but if I was a LIV player, I would say this, because we left, the PGA Tour suddenly found billions of dollars.
Yeah.
You guys are making more money in purses.
Money because of us leaving.
Right. Exactly. Because of us, you're welcome.
So you give that back.
You're welcome. So that's what I would say. Because I think it's a very, very hard ask to say, give us money.
It's not a hard ask. It's a non-ask.
Yeah.
And again, the venom that I would spew at anybody, starting with Tiger Woods. So all these guys, the golf tour is a particularly known conservative entity which believes loudly in capitalism. And now they want
capitalism.
each according to what?
They want their own capitalism.
What?
They want the capital coming back to them. That's right.
And they want to take it from me, like we are now in socialism.
If you left.
To hell with each and every one of them. I know a lot of guys on the PGA Tour like and respect a great many even more.
Do you think there'll be a deal? Or do you think this stops?
If these guys give in, if they do,
Mike, if they do, it's a business decision.
No,
they decide.
I'm not giving them a damn dime.
Right.
And I would tell every one of them, get out of my house. I never want to see you again.
And so
I don't want to share a golf course, a golf.
And so you know what you get. Here is what you get if we do it your way. You get them being reunited at majors like tennis, but no other time. And you get it. They're dispersed to the rest of the world.
I know who I think has the leverage, and it ain't the PGA players because they're begging me for money. When you're begging for money, you never have the leverage. When you have money, you have leverage.
If I begged you for money, it would be to buy a coat like that.
You already got one.
That is sweet. Let's take a break. Coming up, Jose Altuve. I'm looking at the wrong camera. I'm looking at red. That's why I did that. Jose Altuve gets tossed after showing his bare foot to the home plate ump. What's the word for that?
Shohei says he's feeling no pressure to go 50-50. Should we believe that?
I'm a show monkey. I go to the red light. The red light was on that camera.
You're like pro football players in September. You haven't had enough reps.
That must be it.
That's got to be it.
I don't know how fast these cameras.
Pardon the Interruption is brought to you by...
I left my official doctor's coat at home, so I've gotten resourceful.
Where'd you get that one?
I went into Reality's closet, which hadn't been open in about 15 years, and I stole
this. How about that?
What's first?
Jose Altuve's ejection last night was blank.
My word is ludicrous. I mean, I get it. Altuve said the ball hit him on the foot. Altuve said it hit my bat, it hit me in the foot, so it's immediately a foul ball. It shouldn't go all the way to third base where you go third to first and you get the third out of the inning. You shouldn't do that. Why it is ludicrous is because he then takes off his shoe. And he takes off his sock, and he wants the umpire to look at his foot. And so when he gets tossed, it appears like he's looking for a wading pool. I mean, don't you think? I mean, it's really... You know, a long time ago when Gil Hodges managed the Mets, he convinced an umpire to look at the ball that Cleon Jones said hit him in the shoe. And in fact, there was a scuff mark. Yes, so that was provable. Yeah. What I don't understand, Mike, is I was told this is not a reviewable call. And I think it should be a reviewable call. If you can definitively say it hit him or it didn't hit him, it ought to be doing that. But win or lose, it doesn't really matter because the Astros won the game.
The fact that it's not reviewable is ludicrous. I'd love to come up with something else and thwart you and that substitute coach you got on.
It's a substitute. I'm a substitute for another guy. I look pretty tall, but my heels are high.
The fact that it's not reviewable is ludicrous. The fact that Altuve is standing with a bare foot at home plate is ludicrous.
It's John Vandervelde on a football field, on a baseball field.
Without waiting
What are you doing?
By the way, the fact that this went on and on and on, as I turned around the dial, I'm like, what is going on here? Did he have some kind of a boo-boo? That is ludicrous. So the only word is ludicrous. We now should have some sort of a cartoonish pop-up of Luda. You don't know who Luda is, do you?
No, but I know who Ludacris is. I've seen. Is that the same guy we're talking about?
Guy.
I thought he was just ludicrous.
He's ludicrous.
By the way, Altuve looked like he was going to kick a field goal in the 1950s, right?
Or the 70s.
What's next?
It's blank that Shohei Ohtani says he feels no pressure chasing baseball's first 50-50 season.
Okay, my word is understandable. It's a convenient thing to say. It's a political thing to say because there is enormous... It's unexplored territory to go to 50-50. Nobody's ever done this. No, he's got 48 home runs, and he's got 48 stolen bases, and he's got 11 games to go. There have been 40 guys before, Mike, but none were this close. I mean, last year when Acuna had, 70 steals or something like that, I think he had 41 home runs. When Soriano had 46 home runs, he had 41 stolen bases. I think that Ohtani is going to get it. Ohtani is asked about this every single day. And while he may not directly feel pressure, I would think, because it's unexplored territory, I would think he understands the magnitude of the accomplishment if he actually does it.
I don't know that he does because nobody's ever done it, and it's only been a thing.
He's trying for home runs. Dave Roberts said he's not spraying the ball.
That gets me to my word,
right,
which is he's rationalizing.
Okay.
He's rationalizing the thing that we both know from covering a lot of baseball in our lives, makes players crazy, a slump.
Yeah.
He's rationalizing a September slump. That's what he's doing, Tony, because he's swinging for the fences, and he doesn't do that when he's pulling balls or trying to.
He wants to hit him.
When you see him in person, one of the most amazing things, you and I both have seen him in person this year, is the way he goes to the opposite field with power. He doesn't need to pull the ball. He doesn't try to pull the ball.
He wants
batting
50.
average down, on-base percentage down, pulling the ball up. He's rationalizing.
He wants
slumping.
it. He wants it. He wants 50-50.
But you know what? Guys get in slumps even if they're not chasing 50-50.
By the way,
he's just in a September slump.
Having seen him in person,
yeah,
he's an oak tree.
Yes, he's huge.
He's
a tight end. He's like Gronk size.
That's the final word. Let's take one last break. Still to come, Adrian Wojnarowski makes a big career pivot.
And Jordan Love is back on the practice field for the Cheeseheads.
I thought he was going to be out for 4 weeks.
But they didn't put him on IR, so that tells you that he wasn't going to be. He wasn't.
So it's not as bad an injury as anybody feared.
If he's practicing, he sounds like he's ready to play something.
This coat's not working. I'm sorry, Ken Samet. It's not working.
Pardon the Interruption is brought to you by Wendy's $1 small Frosty deal. Limited time only at participating Wendy's.
Happy time, people. I like those Frosties, by the way. Get them for $1. I like those. Happy 91st birthday, Scotty Bowman. By the numbers, Bowman is the greatest coach in the history of the NHL. He won 9 Stanley Cups coaching the Montreal Canadiens, Pittsburgh Penguins, and Detroit Red Wings between 1973 and 2002. He coached Ken Dryden, Larry Robinson, Jacques Lemaire, and Guy Lafleur, among others, in Montreal, where he won 5 cups. He coached Mario Lemieux, Jaromir Jagr, and Ron Francis, among others, in Pittsburgh, where he won 1 cup. And he coached Stevie Yzerman, Sergei Fedorov, and Brendan Shanahan, among others, in Detroit, where he won 3 cups.
Amazing.
Bowman is the only coach to win cups with 3 different franchises. Plus, Bowman has 5 more cups as an executive in Pittsburgh, Detroit, and I didn't realize this, Chicago.
Yeah, 3 of them with the Blackhawks, where he was a senior advisor of hockey ops from 2008 to 2022. That would be guys like Kane and Taves. He didn't coach them, but he oversaw.
Did he get them? Did he acquire
that
them?
whole thing, Tony, which includes, remember, they won their first cup in 2010 when those guys were like 23 years old. So Bowman saw all of that through.
The best.
All of it.
He's the best.
It's like Jerry West to the NBA. Bowman was that and maybe even more.
Happy anniversary, Tim Raines. On this day 40 years ago, while playing for the Montreal Expos, Raines became the first player ever to steal 70 or more bases for 4 consecutive seasons.
Man.
Ultimately, Raines had 70 or more steals for 6 straight seasons. Rickey Henderson had 7 seasons where he stole 70 or more bases, but they were not consecutive. Ellie De La Cruz is leading the majors this season with 64 steals. Ronald Acuna Jr. had 73 last season. So if De La Cruz gets to 70, these will be the first consecutive seasons with 70 steals since Kenny Lofton had 75 for Cleveland in 1996, and Brian Hunter had 74 for the Tigers in 1997.
We have Theo Epstein to thank for this, Tony, for bringing this kind of action
the larger bases
needed,
and the inability to go indefinitely to first base to hold a runner on.
Right.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you go 3 hours, you get back to the 3
I'm watching a bad team, the Washington Nationals. They steal bases all the time. They get in position, they steal bases all the time. Happy trails, Victor Robles. The Mariners' DH was thrown out trying to steal home in the bottom of the first of last night's loss to the Yankees. Wilbon, you're usually thrilled by players who try to steal home, but in this case, the bases were loaded with 2 outs and a 3-0 count on Justin Turner. To add injury to insult, Robles then left the game with a right-hand contusion. Robles had been 25 for 25 on steal attempts with Seattle this season, but you can't go in this situation, can you?
How can you go?
3-0?
This is either the most selfish act of base running ever in the history of the major leagues, or he lost track. What are we talking about here?
Well, that's why you have a coach. You have a coach saying,
he's standing right there next to you.
Don't go. It's 3-0. You can't go. Robles is tough for me because when he played for the Nats, we expected so much more. He's a wonderful fielder in center field.
Was he on a World Series winning team?
I think he was on the team, but he was not
a
key player in it like others were. But he drove me crazy.
That'll drive you crazy.
Drove me crazy. Let's go to the big finish if we could.
Let's do it.
Adrian Wojnarowski, who you sit with all the time, leaving ESPN to become the general manager of the athletic program at St. Bonaventure, his alma mater. Does that make sense to you?
Part of it is no, but the capitalist in me says no. But I know how much Woj loves St. Bonnie's. I ain't guessing. I know how much he loves it. So good luck. I mean, cheers to Woj if this is what he wants to do.
Only in New York. Spent a lot of time there?
No, you have.
Cold, baby.
Jordan Love returned to practice with the Cheeseheads. Is that significant?
Yes, because he is supposed to be a great quarterback right now, paid like a great quarterback now, in the lineage from Favre to Rodgers. Yes, and I thought he'd be out 4 to 5 games. I really did.
Not.
I guess not. The Liberty, I know you love this league, clinched the WNBA's number 1 playoff seed. Your thoughts?
Well, I'm looking down the playoff road because they got nothing in the first round. That's a walkover. Atlanta Dream right now. But they could get the Aces in the second round. Orioles, 14-19 in their last 33. You concerned?
You have to be concerned, Mike. This is September. This team won 100 games last year. You got to be concerned. Last one. The Cubs losing this afternoon. The Brewers became the first team to clinch a playoff spot. Is that a big deal?
Yeah, they lost a lot, Tony. They lost Yelich. They lose Burns. They lose Counsell to the
manager.
They lost a lot.
We're out of time. We will try and do better the next time. Whoops, I'm in the wrong place again. I'm Tony Kornheiser.
And I'm Mike Wilbon. Same time tomorrow, Knuckleheads. You can get the podcast on the app or Apple Podcast.
PTI. Bonus topic.
Hi, Wilbon. Are you more concerned about the 0-2 Bengals or the 0-2 Ravens?
Tony, I think the Ravens, in large part, even though T. Higgins is still out with the hammy and we don't exactly know when he's going to be back, Chase is there. Burrow looked much better from game 1 to game 2, which is essential.
Yes.
Okay?
Yeah.
And Cincinnati's got kind of a soft schedule. Meanwhile, Baltimore has at Dallas, Buffalo, and at Cincy. And they got an offensive coordinator who seems determined not to use Derrick Henry in a way that makes sense to anybody who's ever played a football game. So given all that with Baltimore, and I know they can turn it on, a team rooted in that kind of defense can improve dramatically in a week, I'm still going to say my concern is primarily with Baltimore.
I'm just going to veer off for a second.
Okay.
We need to appreciate how hard that division is.
Yeah.
You got Pittsburgh in that division. You got Cincinnati in that division. Cleveland
made the playoffs last year.
Yeah, I mean, that division, you play every team 2 different times. You're not going undefeated in that division.
No.
That's too hard. I look at this in stages. The first week, I was much more concerned with Cincinnati because they lost at home to New England. New England's a bad team. I think they only scored 10 points against New England.
Good,
and I didn't think Baltimore was in trouble because they were at Kansas City.
And lost by a toenail.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
But then Cincinnati comes back, and they go at Kansas City, and they should have won that game as well as Baltimore should have won that game, right? And then Baltimore blows a home lead of 10 points in the fourth quarter. I agree with you about the schedule. The Baltimore schedule in the short term is much harder. Cincinnati's, I wrote this down, they get Washington this week, then at Carolina. Then there's Baltimore, then at Giants, and at Browns. And they could win at least 3 and maybe 4.
At least 3.
Whereas Baltimore could lose.
They could lose all 3.
They could lose. If Dallas has a bounce back.
Yeah.
Because they got shredded last week.
And at Cincy becomes a huge game in like whatever that is, week 6 or something.
But my takeaway from all of this is look at that division. Look how hard that division is.
Be concerned with both of them. That's it. We're done. Back to you.